What you are about to hear is not a plant shopping list. It is a list of 9 specific plants that professional landscape designers actually specify on real planting plans because they create the visual weight, the structure, and the seasonal complexity that makes a garden look expensive. Every single one costs almost nothing to establish, divides freely, and returns larger every year. The nursery industry has a financial interest in keeping you buying new plants every spring. This channel has a different interest. Here are 9 plants that look like expensive landscaping and cost almost nothing to grow. Plant number 1, Calamagrostis X acutiflora Karl Forster. The mistake most gardeners make is buying one plant, placing it in a corner, and wondering why it does not produce the dramatic effect they admired at the hotel entrance or botanical garden. One plant is not the point. Massed planting is the point. Landscape architects specify Karl Forster on more planting plans than almost any other single perennial in the United States because of the way it behaves at scale as a repeated grouping. Picture this. You plant 5 divisions in a staggered row along a fence line in spring. By midsummer, narrow feathery flower spikes rise 4 to 5 feet above tight vertical clumps of fresh green foliage. Every breeze moves them. The plumes glow golden in morning light. By fall, the entire planting shifts to warm amber. Through winter, while every other herbaceous plant has collapsed, Karl Forster stands upright and structural, still catching snow on those plumes in January, still casting shadows across frost in February. Landscape designers call this 4-season interest, one planting decision paying dividends in every single month of the year. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Karl Forster is a sterile hybrid. It produces no viable seed and will not spread aggressively through your garden. Every new plant must come from division. A clump 3 to 4 years old can yield 4 to 6 new divisions. At typical nursery prices of $12 to $18 per plant, one established clump represents $60 to $100 in free propagation value. Professional landscape firms understand this arithmetic. Home gardeners buying one plant at a time are rarely told. Divide in early spring before new growth exceeds 3 inches. Use a sharp spade, not a hand trowel. Drive it straight through the center of the clump with your full body weight. Each division must be at least 1/3 of the original to reestablish quickly. Plant immediately at the same depth, water in thoroughly, and do not fertilize. Karl Forster performs best in lean soil. Full sun is non-negotiable for the most upright clumps. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Bottom line, Karl Forster is a sterile hybrid that only multiplies by division. One established clump in zones 4 through 9 represents $60 to $100 in free planting material every 4 years. Full sun and lean soil. Karl Forster provides 4-season structure and a free propagation source. What it does not provide is dramatic late-season color. Plant number 2 delivers that on a completely different timeline. Plant number 2, Muhlenbergia capillaris pink cloud. The mistake most gardeners make with muhly grass is buying unnamed seedling material at a big box store because it is cheaper. Unnamed seedlings of Muhlenbergia capillaris are genetically variable. Some produce deep rose-pink clouds of flower in fall. Some produce washed-out, barely pink blooms that read as nothing from 10 feet away. The cultivar pink cloud was selected specifically for maximum flower density and color saturation. That is the entire visual difference between muhly grass that stops traffic and muhly grass that looks like a disappointing shrub in October. Picture this. It is late September. Every other plant in your border is winding down. Foliage is looking tired. Perennials that finished blooming in August are carrying nothing but seed heads. Then pink cloud opens. a haze of deep rose pink flowers so dense the individual stems beneath them disappear entirely. The whole clump appears to float above the ground. In morning light, it catches every photon and glows. This display runs from late September through November, long after most of your garden has shut down. In mass plantings, along a driveway, or at a property edge, the effect is the kind that makes people slow their cars to look. The nursery tag will never tell you this. The color difference between a named cultivar and unnamed seedling material is not subtle. It is dramatic and visible from a distance. Nurseries that sell unnamed mully grass as a generic species are selling you a gamble on genetics without telling you that is what is happening. They do not disclose this because it would require them to source more expensive cultivar-specific propagation material. Plant in full sun, tolerates heat, drought, humidity, and poor sandy soil. Does not tolerate consistently wet feet or prolonged shade. Hardy in USDA zones 5 through 9. Cut back to within a few inches of the ground in late winter. Do not cut back in fall as the winter structure has genuine ornamental value. Divide every 4 to 5 years in spring to refresh performance. Bottom line, named cultivar stock is the difference between a fall display that carries your border and one that disappears. Pink cloud, zones 5 through 9. If your nursery cannot name the cultivar on the tag, do not buy it. Unnamed seedlings are a genetics gamble. Pink cloud closes the season in September. Plant number 3 opens in late spring and, with one specific technique, runs all the way through October. 2 plants, no overlap. Plant number 3, Geranium Roseanne. The mistake most gardeners make with Roseanne is treating it like a standard perennial and never cutting it back. They let it bloom, watch it get tired and sprawling in midsummer, and assume the show is over for the season. It is not over. They just skipped the step that unlocks the second act, and no one told them that step existed. Picture this. Roseanne opens in late spring with violet blue flowers centered in white, held on sprawling stems that weave through adjacent plants with an informal, generous quality no annual can replicate. It blooms continuously into July. Then the stems get long, the center of the plant opens up, and the flowering slows noticeably. Most gardeners look at that and call it done for the year. Now picture cutting the entire plant back hard to within 4 to 6 inches of the ground in mid-July. It looks severe for 10 days, then it pushes back dense fresh foliage. Within 3 weeks, it is blooming again. That second flush runs from August through October and often rivals the first in flower density. The Royal Horticultural Society named Roseanne Plant of the Centenary in 2013. Michigan State University Trial Gardens documented it, blooming from late May through hard frost. 5 months of color from one perennial. Knowing how to extract that performance is the part the tag leaves out. The nursery tag will never tell you this. The hard mid-season shearing is the specific technique that produces a 5-month bloom window. Without it, you get a respectable 8 to 10 weeks of bloom. With it, you get a plant that earns its space from late May through October. Nurseries have no incentive to teach you a maintenance technique that makes their plant perform better for years without additional purchases. Hardy in USDA zones 5 through 8. Full sun to partial shade. Well-drained soil. Average fertility. Cut back hard in mid-July. Water during establishment, then drought tolerant once settled. Divide every 4 to 5 years if needed. Bottom line, one hard cut in early July unlocks a second full bloom flush that runs through October. 5 months of bloom from one perennial in zones 5 through 8. That information has never appeared on a tag. Roseanne earns 5 months of bloom but grows informally. For vertical architectural presence that anchors a professional planting, you need something built differently. That is plant number 4. Plant number 4, Baptisia purple smoke. The mistake most gardeners make with Baptisia is moving or dividing it in the first 3 years, or giving up on it entirely because early growth seems underwhelming. Some do both. They see minimal top growth in year 1, assume the plant is struggling, and dig it up or transplant it somewhere better. What they are actually doing is severing a taproot that was building one of the most extensive underground systems of any perennial in the American garden. Picture this. You plant purple smoke in spring of year 1. It reaches 12 inches and produces a handful of lupine-like flower spikes in smoky purple above blue-gray foliage. Modest but promising. Year 2, it reaches 18 inches, fills in noticeably, and produces more flower stalks. Year 3, something fundamentally shifts. The clump is now 2 feet across. The number of upright flower spikes doubles. Year 4, you have a plant 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide, producing 50 or more flower stalks simultaneously in late spring. The effect is extravagant. It looks like something from a designed English border. And this plant asks for nothing. No staking, no deadheading required, no division ever. It is still getting bigger and more impressive in year 15 and year 20. The nursery tag will never tell you this. A Baptisia develops a deep taproot that makes it exceptionally drought tolerant once established, but also means it cannot be transplanted or divided after year 1 without risking the plant entirely. Nurseries cannot tell you this without admitting that the plant must be left completely undisturbed, which works against selling amendments, accessories, and replacement plants. Purple smoke was discovered at the North Carolina Botanical Garden in the early 1990s, a natural hybrid of Baptisia, australis, and Baptisia alba. Full sun, well-drained soil, then leave it entirely alone. No fertilizer, it fixes nitrogen and actually improves poor soil over time. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Bottom line, 3 years of patience is the entire investment. After that, purple smoke performs for decades with no division, no fertilizer, nothing. In zones 4 through 9, it is completely self-sufficient. Baptisia peaks in late spring, then holds clean foliage. What it does not provide is fall and winter ornamental value. Plant number 5 was selected specifically for what happens after summer ends. Plant number 5, Amsonia hubrichti. The mistake most gardeners make is planting Amsonia hubrichti in partial shade because the fine, willowy foliage looks delicate and suggests something that needs protection from the afternoon sun. It is not delicate, and the single most important thing this plant does, the feature that earns it placement on expensive residential planting plans across the country, only happens in full sun. Without full sun, you get a decent blue spring flower and pleasant, fine textured foliage. With full sun, the entire plant turns brilliant golden yellow in fall. Not pale yellow, not tan, brilliant gold, luminous. The kind of fall color most gardeners expect from a large shrub or a tree delivered by a 4-foot perennial that asks for almost nothing. Picture this. Amsonia hubrichti has been doing its quiet work all season, holding its thread-like foliage in a dense, perfectly rounded mound 2 to 3 feet wide. In spring, clusters of pale blue star-shaped flowers open along the stem tips. Through summer, the fine textured mound provides a graceful backdrop for bolder perennials. Then temperatures drop in late September, and the entire plant converts to gold. Pure, saturated gold. It holds that color through October. The Perennial Plant Association named it Plant of the Year in 2011. The Pennsylvania Horticultural Society awarded it a gold medal. These are not marketing designations. They result from systematic trial evaluations across multiple climate zones by evaluators assessing hundreds of plants simultaneously. The nursery tag will never tell you this. The fall color only occurs reliably in full sun. Nurseries frequently display Amsonia hubrichtii in the partial shade section at the point of sale because it looks attractive there in spring. It grows fine in part shade. But the characteristic that makes it irreplaceable to professional designers does not occur there. No tag says, plant this in full sun or you will miss the best thing it does. Full sun, average to dry soil, tolerates drought, clay, and poor fertility. No fertilizer. Hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9. Bottom line, full sun is non-negotiable for the fall color. In zones 4 through 9, Amsonia hubrichtii delivers 4 distinct seasons of ornamental value from a single planting that asks almost nothing in return. Amsonia delivers spring bloom and brilliant fall color, but does not attract pollinators at meaningful scale. Plant number 6 fills that specific gap across zones 3 through 8. Plant number 6, Penstemon digitalis, Husker Red. The mistake most gardeners make with Husker Red is treating it like a fragile ornamental because of the rich burgundy foliage and delicate-looking white flowers. It looks precious. It performs like a workhorse. Husker Red was developed by Dr. Dale Lindgren at the University of Nebraska specifically for tough American garden conditions. It was selected for drought, lean soil, and the kind of neglect that kills plants bred for more forgiving environments. The Perennial Plant Association named it Plant of the Year in 1996. Colorado State University Extension has documented its performance in lean, dry soil without supplemental irrigation across multiple growing seasons. Picture this. In late spring, rich burgundy red foliage emerges strongly from the base. As early summer opens, flower stalks rise 2 to 3 feet, carrying tubular white flowers with a faint blush of pink inside. Hummingbirds locate them almost immediately. The foliage holds its deep burgundy color through the entire growing season, providing genuine ornamental value long after the bloom window closes in midsummer. In fall and into winter, the dried flower stalks stand upright and architectural, persisting well into the cold months, and providing structural interest when little else remains standing in the border. This is a plant that looks like something you spent significant money on. The investment is modest. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Husker Red performs best in the kind of soil most gardeners are embarrassed by. Lean, dry, average to poor fertility is the actual sweet spot. Gardeners who amend the soil heavily, add generous compost, and water regularly get rank, floppy plants with weakened stems that fall open by midsummer. The suppressed information is that doing less produces dramatically better results. Nurseries profit from selling soil amendments and fertilizers alongside their plants. A perennial that performs best when you buy nothing additional is not the message they are structured to deliver. Full sun, well-drained lean soil, minimal irrigation once established, self-seeds modestly, deer-resistant, hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Bottom line, lean soil, full sun, and minimal intervention. Husker Red performs best in zones 3 through 8 when you give it the conditions most ornamentals cannot tolerate. Doing less is the correct approach. Husker Red brings hummingbird traffic and burgundy foliage all season. What it does not produce is the long lavender blue sweep that softens large borders. Plant number 7 was bred for that. Plant number 7, Nepeta X Facini Walker's Low. The mistake most gardeners make with Walker's Low is letting it bloom once and considering the season effectively closed. They see the first flush of lavender blue flowers in late spring, admire it genuinely, and then watch the plant go floppy and sprawling in midsummer. They do not cut it back. They were not told to cut it back. And they never see what Walker's Low is genuinely capable of producing across a full growing season, because the technique that unlocks it is not printed on any nursery tag anywhere. Picture this. Walker's Low opens in late May with a dense flush of lavender blue flowers on mounding, billowing stems 18 to 24 inches tall. The entire plant hums with pollinator activity. Bees find it immediately and return constantly. By late June, the first flush is spent and the plant begins to sprawl and open at the center. You cut the entire plant back hard, shearing it to within 3 to 4 inches of the ground in the first 2 weeks of July. The timing matters. The plant looks reduced and severe for about 10 days. Then fresh foliage pushes back from the base. 3 weeks after that, a second flush of flowers begins. That second flush runs from August through September, with full flower density and full pollinator traffic. The Royal Horticultural Society awarded Walker's Low the Award of Garden Merit. The Perennial Plant Association named it Plant of the Year in 2007. These recognitions reflect the plant's full potential. Most home gardeners see half of it because no one told them what July requires. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Hard shearing in early July is the specific technique that produces the second bloom flush. Without it, you get 4 to 6 weeks of bloom. With it, you get 4 to 5 months across 2 full windows. Full sun to light shade, well-drained soil, hardy in U.S., DA zones 3 through 8, drought-tolerant and deer-resistant once established. Bottom line, July shearing is the whole technique. Without it, 6 weeks of bloom. With it, 5 months across dirt, 2 complete flush cycles. Zones 3 through 8. That information has never appeared on any tag. Walker's Low gives 2 full flush cycles from May through September. What it does not give you is winter structure. Plant number 8 is a native grass selected specifically to carry a border through the coldest months. Plant number 8, Schizocerium scoparium, standing ovation. The mistake most gardeners make is buying unnamed little blue stem from a native plant sale because it is cheaper, planting it and watching it flop open by midsummer into a sprawling, untidy mass that looks nothing like what they intended. The species Schizocerium scoparium is variable. Some populations stay upright, many do not. Standing ovation was specifically selected, trialed, and patented under PP 25202 by North Creek Nurseries precisely because it stays upright where the species and other selections fail. The Pennsylvania Horticultural Society awarded it a gold medal in 2019. Not to little blue stem as a species, to this specific cultivar for this specific characteristic. Picture this. It is late October. Every other herbaceous plant in your border has gone to the ground. Standing ovation is 4 feet tall, narrow, perfectly upright, covered in fine blue-green foliage shifting to copper red and deep burgundy. The individual stems carry small feathery seed heads that catch the low-angled autumn light with a quality that looks intentional and expensive. Through November, the color deepens. Through December and January, the dried foliage holds its structure completely, providing genuine winter architectural interest and consistent food for birds working through the persistent seed heads in the cold. This is native plant performance at a level that professional landscape designers actually specify on planting plans and charge clients to install. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Cultivar selection is the entire difference between a little blue stem that stands upright through 4 complete seasons and one that collapses by August. Unnamed little blue stem is sold widely at lower prices without any disclosure of this variability. The price premium for a named cultivar like Standing Ovation is real, and so is the performance difference, which is visible from the street in every season. Full sun, well-drained to dry soil, no fertilizer, cut back in late winter, hardy in USDA zones 3 through 10. Bottom line, the cultivar name is the guarantee. Standing ovation stays upright in zones 3 through 10, where the generic species collapses. The price difference is real. So is the performance difference. Standing ovation holds structure through fall and winter with copper red upright form. What it does not deliver is the bold midsummer bloom that anchors a planting at its visual peak. Plant number 9. Plant number 9. Echinacea purpurea magnus. The mistake most gardeners make with coneflower is buying unnamed seedlings or generic species plants, planting them, and receiving flowers with reflexed petals that droop downward from the central cone at a steep angle. The plant looks tired and limp from the moment it opens. Magnus was selected specifically for flat horizontal petals that radiate outward cleanly from the central cone without reflexing or drooping. That single difference, petal carriage, is the entire distinction between a coneflower that reads as a deliberate professional planting and one that reads as something that wandered in from a roadside. Picture this. It is July. A drift of 10 Magnus plants is in full bloom in your border. The petals are large, flat, and deep rose purple, held perfectly horizontal. The central orange-bronze cones are prominent and precise. The whole planting carries a bold, defined quality that reads clearly from 30 feet away. By September, the flowers transition to seed heads. Goldfinches arrive and work through those seed heads steadily through October and into November. By December, the dried cones are still standing upright and still providing food for birds on winter mornings when the garden has otherwise shut down entirely. The Perennial Plant Association named Magnus Plant of the Year in 1998. USDA Plants database documents its successful cultivation across virtually all of the continental United States. The nursery tag will never tell you this. Petal angle is a cultivar characteristic, not a species characteristic. Unnamed coneflower seedlings are highly variable in petal carriage, color depth, and flower size. Nurseries sell unnamed Echinacea purpurea regularly with attractive species-level photographs that do not represent the variable result you may actually receive. The tag says Echinacea purpurea. The photo looks good. The plant in your garden may perform very differently. Full sun to partial shade, average to dry, well-drained soil. Deadhead for continuous bloom or leave seed heads for wildlife. Divide every 3 to 4 years when centers die out. Hardy in USDA zones 3 through 9. Bottom line, buy Magnus by name. Petal carriage is a cultivar characteristic, not a species characteristic. In zones 3 through 9, Magnus is documented across virtually the entire continental United States. 9 plants. Every one specified by landscape designers on real projects. Every one available for a few dollars at a local nursery or free from a neighbor willing to divide. The difference between a garden that looks expensive and one that looks average is almost never budget. It is plant selection. Knowing which specific cultivars perform, knowing which techniques unlock the full potential most gardeners never see, knowing what the nursery tag was never going to tell you. You now have that information. Use it. Subscribe and drop a comment below telling me which of these 9 you are planting in first in your USDA zone.